What's up, guys? Welcome back to Viewer Castles. Today we're going to start off with Monkoid. Castle level is a 17, so we'll jump into it. Jump into him on my knight because he's, closer to that level. Alright, so the Smelly Warrior is a little weird, but I'm not going to say anything about it quite yet. Just because 4 points is never going to do anything for you, but I guess you maybe had, a couple spare points from earlier on, I guess, in your castle. Maybe you had a couple 19-point groups, so you had 4 left over. So, I mean, I think it's fine. It probably won't do anything, though, and it may, increase the chances of a health globe dropping, and they could backtrack to grab it or something like that. I believe it's based off of points that you kill or something. I don't actually have any idea how health globes are figured out at this point, but I know that it has to help you. If you kill something early on in the castle, it's probably going to be more likely. It's something that you could play around with as well. Alright. So, I mean, again, Smelly Warriors, not my favorite unit. They just don't do really all that much damage, although they did hit me for a little bit. They're not super scary. Alright, I like the delayed Cyclops. I think that's pretty neat. It seemed to be timed out pretty well as also. Having this Defendatron, normally people will initiate on that, and then they won't run straight to the Smelly Archers, but if they do, they should get hit by your Cyclops, so I think it's a pretty good idea. Alright. The Resurrecting Bone Puppeteer, I'm not sure if I like that as much as I would like maybe, healing or Enrage. I feel like they're just better support abilities. Raising Skeletons, like, they don't do much damage, and they get cleaved by, auto attacks, or volleyed, or pretty much anything with an AoE ability will kill it in one shot, so. The same with the Dr. Skull. I guess you're still kind of within that range where Dr. Skulls are okay, but you're right on the edge of that, I would say. So sure, he gets off a couple of these minions, but with me being level 19 already, you can see that these guys only spawn as level 12. And it might be a bug, or it might not be, but basically they always spawn at level 12, I think. Maybe that's been fixed. I haven't really messed around with these guys, but they do 7 damage, and they're not going to have enough life to withstand even one hit. So that's why I'm kind of saying that you shouldn't really use Dr. Skulls at this stage of your castle. They pretty much fall out of being useful. Sometimes in boss rooms they're okay, but that's really the only point, and I wouldn't say they're useful on Raising Hell or, whatever the minion raising one is for Dr. Skulls. Alright, so we have some chickens. I'm going to ignore them and go after I'm going to actually heal. Okay. I would like to kill off this Bone Puppeteer before I kill off the majority of the trash mobs that are here. Now, unfortunately, you've seen me using this Stairmaster specialization in my castle. The problem is, it's very useless up until Stairmasters get rank 4, which is at level 28 or something, I believe. The only useful specialization up until that point is generally the purple one, the eyeballs that come out of them that are really slow. And it's even hard to make that useful now because of Hunger Bots being nerfed and camera rotation and stuff like that. The displacement field goes from like ticks of maybe 30 to 40 maximum up to 250 or so, just from the level 24 to 28 research. I believe that's it. I believe that's the level that it becomes effective. Correct me if I'm wrong, for people who know, but it's basically their rank 4. Whenever they gain rank 4 is when they get a big damage increase to that specialization. Alright, I'll use one more potion. So, I mean, you have made me use 2 potions. I feel like you could probably be killing people around your level and maybe under as well, obviously. But I think people above your level won't have too much problems. I think you should refocus your attention more on your, support units, like your Bone Puppeteers and your Dr. Skulls. Try to get more damage dealing groups in, or time wasting, although time wasting isn't really going to do much for you. Because of how the timers are right now, they've been buffed, or I guess nerfed in terms of defense quite a bit. So I would focus more on trying to use up people's potions. That's really the only way to protect things with reasonable certainty. So we'll jump into number 2 in just a second. Alright, next up is AzzerUK. I ran his castle pretty recently for the event that we did. We'll see if there's any changes. I don't really remember it because there are so many of them to attack. I do remember it being this theme, and I do remember the Snottingham at the end, but we'll just go through it here. Okay, so one thing that I do remember, I don't know if it was your castle specifically, but I think I can hug this wall and I don't get hit by this spike trap. And I'm not sure if I did that in the replay that I left you, but I do remember noticing this in someone's castle. I'm sure that there's some reason for it, like you have another trap that needs to be placed over on this wall or something. It's just something to note. It's actually a pretty big deal if people notice it, because this trap kind of becomes useless at that point. So I'll continue a little bit, see what's here. Now I'm actually getting ticked by it. It's weird. I don't get ticked by it down here, but up a little bit closer I do. It's kind of odd, but now I've taken quite a bit of damage needlessly. Okay, this guy's stuck on the wall, so I have to do something about this. I'm just gonna engage this and then kind of pull back. And with him being sped up, I think I can pull this all the way back, and eventually he will delink from the Defendatron, and then he can get killed pretty quickly. So there we go. I should have done this a little bit quicker, to be honest. If I was doing this for, you know, a time record or anything like that, I should have pulled that group pretty quickly after I engaged these explodifiers. It's generally the way to do things. Obviously, the timer the way it is, you can wait quite a while. So I'm kind of wondering what this explodifier is actually getting stuck on, because it's a little bit annoying. That's one thing that I've noticed, is some of the rooms you can get explodifiers, or even more so Mr. Boom Booms. Unfortunately, I actually have the wrong potions. I don't know why that is, but anyway, as I was saying, oh, that hurts. Certain rooms get explodifiers and Mr. Boom Boom stuck because they're too big, and now he just randomly frees up, which is kind of weird as well. Alright, so I've used one potion. I do need to grab these health globes and continue on. But yeah, there's some with pillars that Mr. Boom Booms just can't fit through. Some of the new rooms. One of them I use in my castle, and I didn't really even realize it when I was placing it in. But now that I'm watching replays, I realize that they actually have to pull 3 groups in order to kill the Mr. Boom Boom, which is kind of insane. I think that's something that, you know, needs to be addressed. I mean, I don't think it's the worst thing in the world, because they are kind of easy to take care of. And you can engage 2 groups on their own, and then pull them backwards, and the Mr. Boom obviously will be at a max range at some point. Alright, so I have to engage this. Alright. Okay. So far so good. I mean, the only problem that I've seen so far is that one spike trap. I think uses of mouse wheel traps are in a really weird spot right now, because I think a lot of the places that you use mouse wheel traps, a spike trap can be more effective for overall sustained damage. I mean, your best hope right now is for me to get hit by this, knocked over, and have one of these things explode on me. That would be about 1,050 to like 1,250 damage or something. Whereas a spike trap, you know, if you can make someone go over it a couple of times, it's almost more guaranteed damage, you know? I guess it's not really guaranteed, because it is possible to dodge spike traps. I think it's just a little bit harder to dodge them, and it takes a little bit more time to dodge them than mouse wheel traps. sorry, this does actually try to take a little bit of concentration watching where all these guys are exploding, and trying to stay away from them while, you know, killing other things, so. But yeah, this is fine. Mr. Boom Booms are really hard to mess up. Unless you put them like at the front of a group or something, they're actually pretty difficult to make. They kind of remind me of Scorpios from back before they were nerfed, where there's never a bad position to put in a Mr. Boom Boom, in my opinion. They're just so time consuming to take care of. Alright, so some explodifiers. I think my best bet would be to engage the next group as well. Headshot has a lot longer range than any basic attack does for archers, so using that can hit that derp. This could hurt. Okay, so if I got hit by that Cyclops, I would have died. Or I would have gotten 3 blocks. Alright, continuing on. So yeah, I like that quite a bit, though. Although this is kind of one of those rooms where people expect some sort of a Scorpio pull or a Cyclops charge because it's a long hallway. I think people have gotten to the point where they're expecting that a lot more, and I've actually thought about removing this room from my castle altogether, because I think just people are getting too good at dealing with it. It's a weird little group. Only 6 points, but it could be kind of effective if I didn't notice and I did go into one of those charges. Alright, now I have said that battering rams at this level can be pretty effective. If you get hit and, you know, if you get hit and stunned, and like all 3 of these guys hit you, it does add up quite a bit. The fire also does pretty good damage as well. I think they are okay units at level 32, or 30 I think they max out at. Alright, so we'll engage that. To be aware that this guy is sped up. So when I'm dodging, I have to put that into account for the fact that he's charged up a little bit more quickly, like that. Alright. So far so good. I mean, I would like it if you could possibly get it so that this this group isn't able to be aggroed until you're already over this trap, because I feel like that would be, you know, ideal for you, right? If you make me go over this trap and I come to this point and like there's a couple different outcomes, right? I aggro this group and then I pull all the way back and leap back over the trap, or I stay here for a little bit too long and I get bashed back onto the trap, which would make me take at least 1 extra tick of damage, possibly 2. And so with that, you're making someone go over the trap 3 times instead of 1. Or possibly getting hit onto the trap and taking a few extra ticks that way as well. I think like a lot of this sustained damage stuff is mainly due to traps. I think for people, if they're playing at least decently, they can stay healed up if there's no traps supporting the group. Like, I'm gonna get pulled by that. That's really bad. Okay. I think enough health globes drop that you can stay healed up from just fighting people. I'm just fighting creatures. But when traps start to add up damage, like thousands and thousands of damage like spike traps, and to a lesser extent ballistas can do, I think that's where people have to start using a lot more potions. Alright, so is this guy actually walking around? No, he's stuck on the wall, it looks like. Yeah. Now the easiest way to deal with spiders is to drop bear traps as an archer. They are actually pretty annoying for archers to deal with if you don't take bear traps. One of the main reasons that I started taking them actually was to deal with that, and charging Cyclops is because those can be even more deadly than they are before their rank 4, or rank 7 I mean upgrade. Because they stun for so long, you can get a full Zeke volley off and you'll still be stunned, so that will instantly kill almost any archer. And any mage. The only person who could survive it would be a knight, I think. I should do more stuff like this, I suppose, until at least it gets fixed. I mean, I feel like exploits at level 32 are almost not even exploits, because people are pretty strong and pretty good at the game at this point. You know, I can't expect this to kill anybody, it's just annoying to deal with these things over and over. And, I mean, I don't really, you know, hate this all that much. But the fact that this mine is right here, blocks off this Mr. Boom Boom from getting through because he's just so fat. So, you know, it's just something that you can do. You have to be a little bit aware when you're doing that, though, that if someone pulls this entire room and backs up a little bit, this guy will never get within range to help out. Like, his explode bomblet things can only make it so far. So that's something to keep in mind. I think this is one of the rooms where if you had a Mr. Boom Boom on the other side of it, it couldn't get through this pillar hallway here. There's just some rooms that you don't even have to do anything. Alright, so I'm going to pull that. I can't get a headshot on one of the Defendatrons, but I'm not sure if you had this in your castle during the event or not. But this is one of my favorite groups up at this level. I think it's pretty hard to deal with, especially if you have to fight it in a small area. You know, if you can back up like I am here, you don't really take any damage. But you can see right there, if you get close enough to these guys, it's almost instantaneous where they shoot that out and it explodes. There's like, it's really weird how these guys function. If you're pretty far away from them, like if I was in the corner of the room and they shot out, it seems to take more of a delay when it reaches its destination to actually make the field. Whereas if you're closer to it, it shoots it out and then it instantly places the field. Which is really interesting to me. So yeah, I mean, you can take an instant 800 points of damage if you don't have enough room to actually deal with something. I do remember this part here. I think I did the same thing when I attacked your castle previously, where you have this Mega Mutton that gets shielded after the fact. He basically puts his Mega Mutton in a place where you want to initiate on it, and he has his Defendatron a little bit farther off. And then if you're an archer, the headshot at like whatever level 28 or whatever gets a mini stun on top of it, so that mini stun will keep the Mega Mutton back far enough where the Defendatron can link to it. And then he's charging while still being defended by a Defendatron, which is pretty annoying. Alright, and now you actually have Captain Clubbage instead of Count Snottingham. I don't know about this. I actually think Count Snottingham is one of the better bosses. I think bear traps are just really good. Well, maybe not, because I am getting a little bit owned by this guy. But, yeah, I think bear traps make this guy a little bit easy. That being said, I might die to him, so I think he's fine. I think like this guy and Dur are the only ones that can reach level 32. I'm not sure if I'm right on that, but yeah, pretty good castle. Made me use 3 potions. I used like lower level potions, but that actually almost heals me anyway because I have no life. So, pretty good. Yeah, not too much else to say. We're going to jump into number 3 in just a second. Alright, for number 3 we have Mighty Milkman. Castle level's 29. See what he's got in here. I think anyone who has a castle level of like 28 and above should almost rush to level 32. Because people, I had someone, I think maybe it was someone who submitted to Viewer Castles recently or something, and I read the email or whatever, asked me, you know, to give tips on a level 30 castle. And I think level 30 castles are in the worst place defensively, like, than anybody else in the game, because a lot of the level 30 champions have really just been there for patch after patch after patch, and all they've had to do during that time is farm gear. So you have a lot of level 30 people who have over 1,000 DPS, which is just kind of insane. I don't even have that much, and I feel like I have pretty good gear. So I think the big thing is actually getting to that level 32 mark, so that your castle has a chance at some of those higher geared players. Like, obviously level 32 I think is one of the most, I guess the most balanced place for castles right now. I know people have talked about like defense being too weak or something, but I think it's actually in a pretty good spot for specifically 4 potions. I think 4 potions is a really good number for castles at level 32. I think every other point in defense it's a little bit too high. I think it should be scaled a little bit better. Like 1 potion for every 10 levels or something. But I guess you have less knowledge of the game at those levels, and you'll take more damage from things you shouldn't. But for a high-skilled player, I don't see anyone being able to beat you at the lower levels, like sub 20. I couldn't see defense winning. I mean, I haven't been there in a while. Eventually, I will be, rerunning the game, either when it goes into open beta or if I get another account into beta. I might actually have one, I'm not 100% sure. I don't remember if the email was for like one of the open beta events or if I actually got into beta. I'm not 100%. I would have to go back and read it again. But I do want to redo some of my early defense guides because they're not really applicable anymore. Alright, so this one's kind of weird. You have like a pre-made Defendatron on a Mega Mutton, and I think that's kind of a mistake almost. I don't think Mega Muttons do enough damage when they're not charging. After they're started charging, if you can get a defend on them, I think it's great. But a lot of people obviously use Defendatrons on their support units rather than the Mega Mutton itself. Because, I don't know, the charge is really what gives you the possibility of doing critical damage. Killing the person or making them use a potion if they get charged and land in the fire, That's what you're really going for with Mega Muttons. Sure, their auto attacks are like 400-ish when they're not charging, which isn't like too terribly bad. But you have things like Zeeks that can do 1,200 and they shoot three arrows. So this one, again, kind of you want people to go over Spike Trap multiple times. So if you could hide this a little bit better, make it so that I can't engage it. It's very difficult to make something that's not engageable. Like if you look for it and really try to find it, and like there should be some way of dealing with it. You could either drop a volley or a headshot or something like that to engage the group before you go over the spike trap, but a lot of people won't notice it because a lot of the time you have to, pan your mouse over the walls to see what's beyond that point because there's no outlines when something is not already aggroed. So a lot of the times you can get people to go over traps multiple times. It also depends on the units that are over there, like this point right here. That guy, I have to move back. I either have to move back or forward, and generally people will move back. I have seen some people at level 32 who have been always move forward no matter what you see kind of thing. I think his name was AzzerUK or something, who was just speed running through castles because he would just never move backwards. And he died to a lot of castles because of that, but it's kind of like he would either die or he would use very low potions and get through it extremely quickly because it would depend on what he found as he was going and pushing forward, If you have something incredibly dangerous and he goes face first into it, well then he's probably going to die. But if, it's not as dangerous, you can just get through it really quickly. That way. And take less damage from the trap. I guess that was a big point that I kind of missed out on there. If you keep going forward, you never have to go back over spike traps and stuff, so you won't take nearly as much damage and you'll be able to keep healed up from the health globes a little bit easier. That was a pretty bad hit right there. Alright, so I need to be a little bit careful that I don't get hit by the Cyclops and then hit by these archers, because that could kill me in one shot. But I'm good now. Alright. So far your castle's been set up pretty well. Just some of these traps you need to look at a little bit better and see where people are engaging whatever's on the other side of the trap and try to make them go through the trap multiple times. That's a big factor in dealing enough damage to kill somebody. Something that I even need to go back over in my own castle and kind of rebuild parts of it. I think, Explodifiers and Mr. Boom Booms are a little bit... I've overrated them a little bit, I would say. Alright, so this is only... Oh, I almost got hit by that anyway, but I was looking at it to see if it was a level 7 Hunger Bot, because that changes things quite a bit. They can hit you so quickly that you have no time to dodge, almost. So you have to kind of pre-dodge it. But I think it requires level 32 Hunger Bots. Alright, what do we have for a boss? We have the Count Snottingham. So, yeah. Pretty good castle overall. I think you should try to rush for level 32. That'll be a really big point in actually getting hero kills at this, Level 29 and 30 I think are in the worst spots, just because of the gear thing like I talked about earlier. But yeah, pretty good castle. That's number 3, so we'll end the video here. If you guys enjoy what I do, please subscribe. As always, if you want to be a part of Eurocastles, you can email me at frenzycastleruns@hotmail.com. The list should be semi-updated. I know I've missed a few people, so if your name is not on the list and you've submitted in like the last week or so, you know, before this video or before the last video, basically when I took that little hiatus and I was on break kind of doing a lot of farming and a lot of the competition and stuff like that, I obviously missed a couple people that would have commented on videos or commented on my castle, because I didn't really have all that much time. So resubmit if I missed you, and I will get to your castle whenever I have time. So thank you guys for watching, hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you next time.